When Camila was about to turn 12, her town Granada was invaded by one of the most dangerous illegal armed militia, the guerrilla, along with the paramilitary. Their aim was to recruit her into their war ranks. She was forced to flee with her family to Medellin, Antioquia, where they lived in the garbage dumps. She had to choose between hate and forgiveness. I want to welcome Camila Delacruz to this interview, and also Amy Murdock. Camila is the author of this amazing book, Fleeing to Overcome. Amy is a translator from Spanish to English. My name is Alex. I have lived in Medellin, Colombia for the past 13 years. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I've lived here helping my family with social work. So, Camila, I want to ask you a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you, Alex and Amy. It's great to share with you this time and this interview. Thank you for being here and everyone that is watching. Okay, my name is Camila Delacruz. That's my artistic name. My birth name is Camila Duque Hoyos. I was born in Granada, Antioquia in 1990, and I am a singer, actress, a storyteller, a songwriter, too, and author of the book Fleeing to Overcome. And I love to use my talents to glorify God and make people laugh.
Wow. Thank you, Camila. So I want to give you all a little bit of context in Colombia. So I've been living in Colombia for the past 13 years. Camila obviously grew up in Colombia and lived most of your life in Colombia. Mm-hmm. Amy's also lived years in Colombia. It's a beautiful country. The people are amazing. The culture is amazing. But the other side of it is that Colombia has been affected by violence for many, many years. And this violence has displaced many people. Millions of people have been affected by the civil unrest in the country. So, Amy, I want to ask you, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Amy Murdock. I was born and raised in Texas, and I've lived in several Latin American countries, including Colombia, where I currently live. And I am a singer-songwriter as well, and an English teacher, and I love Colombia. I really love Colombia.
Thank you. And why Colombia?
So I felt like the Lord called me here when I was 20 years old, and I found a lot of purpose here. I record songs here. I work here, live here, everything. But I also have found many relationships here, and I've discovered that there's so much resilience in the people of Colombia, so much that they've lived through, like Camila tells in her book, where most people would give up. But I've seen people in this country rise up and continue, and they overcome, and it's a really beautiful thing to witness.
Wow, that's awesome. Camila, can you tell us more about your life growing up?
Sure. So I grew up in a village called Los Medios that is close to the main town, Granada, Antioquia. And I grew up surrounded with cows, coffee trees, sugarcane plantations. I grew up working on that with my dad. So that was my life, like going to the river, walking from my home like 1 hour and a half to go to the school. So everything was very different to what you can imagine a city. So it was like the rural area, very far away from the urban things and buildings and all of that. And I lived with my parents, my mom, it's Fabiola, my dad Javier Duqueosa, and I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. But my older sisters, they were already living here in Medellin, so I didn't share a lot of time with them. So I was a very happy girl in my childhood. Like I think most of the childs, we enjoy our time when we are little. But then I started to see a lot of groups of people like wearing green colored, and I was scared because they were also using gangs, and everything become like dangerous. And they were even sleeping in the yard of my house. They were stealing the chickens, and they were stealing the eggs, asking for the milk of the cows. So everything was like different and changed from security to danger.
So you said there's a lot of people that just started showing up dressed in green. Can you explain to the people who don't know what that is? What does green represent?
Yeah.
The color green, like the jackets, the camel.
Well, yeah, it's because that color is very used for the army, the official army of Colombia, they use that color, but also the armed militia started to use that color
Militia.
because is that the way that you camouflage? Is that the word? Yeah.
Camouflage.
Camouflage with the green color of the nature. So they were like fighting for territories, and they started to fight between each other, and we were in the middle of all of that, in the middle of the conflict of the bullets, of the bombs, and there were helicopters, airplanes, people fighting, people like using gangs, and my life changed. You know, my life, my family's life, and everyone that was living there, everything changed from happiness to being full of fear.
Wow. Can you tell us a story, something that you remember that affected you from your childhood?
Well, many things, but especially I think is when there were some people that I already know, like they were parents of some of my classmates, and they disappeared. Also, the husband of my aunt, he disappeared. So these people took him, and he never come back.
Wow.
Or even young people that they were studying, suddenly they didn't go to school anymore because they were recruited to the war ranks. So when I was about to turn 12, they came to my house, and they came to take me to the war ranks and to train me to use gangs and everything. And they were going to take my sister too. So my dad was arguing with them and saying, no, I'm not going to let you to take my daughter. And that was a moment that I was hiding at home but looking through the window. And I remember those people with the gangs and everything, and the sounds of the rainy boats too. Is all something with the sounds really traumatized me. And that was very difficult for me to heal. And I tell more details in the book that I hope you read it. So thanks God, by the grace of God, we were able to escape. So we fled, arrived to live in Medellin in the garbage dump that is called, the neighborhood is called right now Moravia, but it was another kind of war because they were like narco traffic in the city. So they were offering me drugs, and they put drugs in my bag so that I can enter the drugs to a school. They were treating me very bad, like with words that affected me so bad. Like there were no bullets, that I didn't see bullets all the time in this neighborhood, but the most dangerous gun in this moment was the tongue. So my heart was very broken with those words that they were telling me, stupid, you are not worthy, you go back to the mountain, you don't deserve anything. So words that are really, really hard words.
Wow. So you went from living in the middle of the mountains, being a farm girl, like surviving a war, an entire war, and the conflict, escaping, fleeing with your life and your family, to the garbage dumps. It must have been a big contrast. And that's all talked about in your book, Fleeing to Overcome. It's an interesting title, Fleeing to Overcome. Can you share a little bit more about the title of the book?
Yeah, the title, Fleeing to Overcome, sometimes it sounds like contradictory.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we think, no, we need to be brave and face every situation. But sometimes the only way to face something is just fleeing.
Yeah.
Because in this case, we were fleeing from being killed. And overcome, because we have to overcome different situations, economic situations. Like my parents came like from the countryside. They didn't know how to survive in the city, so they started to work in the street, selling things or cleaning the streets. And I was also selling lottery. So many things to overcome. Also, all the bad words that I was receiving, I started to believe on that lies. So I have to overcome that lies, and I started to believe in the truth.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, Fleeing to Overcome, the new book. Amy, so you translated this book, so you've read it and translated it and I'm guessing you've read it multiple times to get all the words right.
That is correct.
Can you tell me what's one of the things that impacted you most while translating the book?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, as I was reading Camila's book, there's a specific part where she writes about her relationship with her husband. She married a man who was 30 years older than her, and her parents were not in agreement. They were not blessing the marriage. And so after they get married, it was 8 months that they didn't really see her parents. And she decides, how about we invite our whole family to come to our apartment and we celebrate my mom's birthday. And so her whole family ends up showing up. And at the end of the night, or sometime during the night of that celebration, her husband, Ramon, basically opens a Bible and he asks for forgiveness. He asks her parents, will you please forgive me because I was not the husband that you expected for your daughter. And I remember reading that because in that moment, her family, like, they're all in tears. They're all, forgiving each other and realizing, wow, we messed up. And her mom also looks at Ramon and asks him to forgive her. I treated you badly. I didn't have anything against you. It's just I was thinking of something else for my daughter. And so it was very powerful, and I really felt the presence of God reading that page, and actually cried reading that page while I was translating.
Wow, that's awesome. So we can see like the forgiveness, the importance of forgiveness in the book. Camila, so Amy mentioned your husband, Ramon. He had an important part to play in the cover of the book. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, and in the whole book.
In the whole book, yes.
In my life too.
Yes.
You both know him, and he's a very
Yeah.
special man, and your parents know him.
Mm-hmm.
So Ramon Delacruz is my husband. He's a fine artist. So when I was like finishing everything about the book, I was like, okay, we need a cover. I had some ideas, but I wasn't sure about them. So I asked Ramon, please help me with the cover of the book, because 200 pages, around 40,000 words, to put all of that in just one picture.
Wow.
That's not easy.
Yeah.
That's not easy. So I asked him to help me, and he made many drafts, and he did. So he did many drafts, and I didn't like it. so I was like, no, I didn't like it. And one time he was like, no, I'm not going to try anymore. But we needed that. So I told him, okay, Ramon, I'm going to hire you. I'm going to pay you for this, and I trust you. So he finally, the Holy Spirit reveals to him this cover that I really loved. The colors and all the expression. I don't know. What do you think, guys?
It's beautiful. It sums up that part of the book. Wow.
Yeah, there are green color that is a lot of about the nature, the countryside, but also what happened with the uniforms that people.
It's like a kind of camouflage there, and then you see the gun in the corner.
Right.
And the bullet.
Yes, and the girl was fleeing from the bullet.
Wow.
And the
like
color
on top of the bullet, like overcoming.
Yes, overcoming
Everything. Yeah.
So I really admire my husband, and he played a huge part
Wow.
on this book to help me, encouraging me to print out, to write.
Yeah.
Every time I was writing, he was even cooking so that I can write, things like that. So it's
That's awesome.
very beautiful, and I really love him.
Oh, that's nice. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful cover, beautiful painting that Ramon did. We actually have multiple of his paintings in my house, and in my dad's office. We have a lot of his paintings. Amy, can you tell us, since you translated this whole book, what are some of the hardest things about translating from Spanish to English?
A lot of things. So mainly because many times I tried to translate literally, and it does not work. You cannot do that. And sometimes I would try to do that, and then Camila, obviously she was going back over. She's like, Amy, what is this? I don't understand. It's like, well, I didn't understand. But another thing is trying to translate from my own culture. So not understanding Colombian culture, not understanding the context. that plays a huge part in translating a book. In one language to the next, you have to understand the culture and what somebody was saying, where they were coming from. Small things, even like I understand panela, but for somebody who isn't from Colombia, they're going to be like, what is panela? Like, yeah, so that's in the glossary of her book for those of you who do not know what panela is. But things like that, you'd have to understand the culture and the context.
Yeah, because there's like, what were you going to say?
Yeah, and that's so important about the culture, because I had the option to just choose any other translator that had experience translating book, but they have never lived in Colombia.
Yeah.
So I really wanted someone that knows Colombian culture and that knows my heart too. So Amy was living here for some time, so I was like, Amy knows Spanish now. She has been living here. She knows me. She reads a lot. So I proposed her this challenge, and she wasn't sure, but I'm so grateful that she said yes, because and we have been working together very well.
Yes.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Camila, what's the main message of your book?
Oh, the main message of my book is forgiveness. Because I met Jesus when I was 14. Someone preached to me about Jesus, and I started to have this relationship with Jesus, and I realized I have a lot of bitterness in my heart with all these armed militia, guerrilla, paramilitares. So God was showing me, you need to forgive them. And that was something difficult, forgive these people that displaced my whole family, that we have to just leave everything, like the cow, the house, everything you build it, the childhood, the happiness is like they stole something from my life. So it was difficult to forgive them, but I did it because Jesus forgave me, and he always say we need to forgive each other, and we need to forgive 70
times 7.
So that's a eternal number. So I did it, but then I realized I need to forgive the government, because they didn't protect us. They didn't do what they have to do with the victims, like, for example, giving us scholarship to study, or at least giving us opportunities so that we can overcome these difficulties in a better way. So I did that too. So that's the main message. There are another part of forgiveness in the book, because my family has been very Catholic. So when I became believer and I started my relationship with Jesus, they were like, oh, you're in another religion. They were kind of angry with me for some time, but I understood that our battle is not against flesh, but against spiritual forces. So I forgave them too, and we have a very good relationship now. So that's my main message in the book.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, forgiveness is so important, and it's one thing just to talk about forgiveness and talking about, oh yeah, forgiveness is very important. It's another thing to forgive people who have killed people that you know, and when your friends disappear and your whole life is stripped away from you and you have to flee to another city. That's a different level of forgiveness, and it shows that forgiveness is so important. And that's an amazing central message of the book. Amy, why do you think it's so important that this book is translated into English?
Very good question. Well, for one, Camila speaks English. She's traveled to 9 different countries, and she knows many people who also speak English. And so her heart behind this book is not only that she could reach Spanish speakers, but she can reach English speakers. And also, I want to say más adelante, farther ahead. Sometimes we forget our own language. Farther ahead, she wants to translate it into German, Italian, different languages. And so I think it's also, whenever you have something in another language, it has a broader reach. You can reach so many more people. And obviously English is a very universal language. So I think that is the heart behind translating it.
Wow. Yeah. So Amy mentioned you are planning to one of your goals is to keep translating into different languages. What are some of the plans you have for this book?
Well, I would like to travel to United States and do some promotion of the book, some interviews. So if you have some opportunities for me, please send me a message. And, find contacts, promoting the book, and of course, looking for opportunities to translating the book to other languages, and also writing another book. Why not? So many things are coming, and I hope to go to United States and meet with the people that I love there, and they have been asking me, like, when it's gonna be ready? When it's gonna be ready? So very soon, it's gonna be on your hands.
Wow. Yes. Camila, to end this interview, can you look straight into the camera and say something impactful?
Okay. Everyone that is there, thank you for listening. And I just want to tell you the message is to forgive. I know you have suffered. I know that people has hurt your feelings, your heart. And it's important that you forgive, because it brings freedom to our hearts, to our minds, healing to any trauma that you have from the past. And if you have someone to forgive, you just need to say, today I decide to forgive, and say the name of the person and why do you want to forgive the person. It's a decision. Mention the things this person has done to you and forgive that person, and you will feel free, you will feel peace. And then just release any desire of revenge that you have on your heart. Just release it to Jesus, because He's righteous. That's the message I want to give you, and you will feel the freedom that comes from heaven.
Wow. Forgiveness is such an important aspect of everything. And this book really shows a beautiful way of forgiveness, your story. And that's the message of Jesus as well. It's forgiveness. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Camila, for your time. We want to invite you, if you want to help partner with Camila to finish the printing of this book. It will be out very soon, right?
Yeah.
If you want to help partner with Camila to print this book, you can follow her on her social media and also her PayPal. Can you give that information?
Yeah, my social media is Camila Delacruz Artista, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere. And our PayPal is delacruzcompania@gmail.com. And you can just contact us also through our email, delacruzcompania@gmail.com. And thank you so much for all your support. Thank you, Alex and Amy. I'm so grateful that we were able to do this interview in English, so that all of you can know what is my book about.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Remember to reach out to Camila. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you. See y'all.
Bye-bye.